slow start, but how did it feel to end up the Classic with 3 straight wins?
It felt really good. Yeah, we kind of walked in, like you said, pretty slow. Got off to a slow start. Had a really high air game, and sat down as a team that night and kind of just talked about like, hey, this is what it's going to be. You know, it only gets better from here as we move towards conference. And so we just kind of talked about the intensity and the amount of errors we made, and just kind of what we needed to do moving forward. And I think it worked out well for us.
Rayshawn, obviously, not saying she's putting up Sandra numbers, but she stepped into that role. What's it been like kind of getting her integrated into the offense?
It's honestly been pretty easy. We struggled a little bit early on, but I mean, like you said, not quite Sandra numbers, but pretty dang close. I think we're going to try and work this week to kind of wean away from her a little bit to get more hitters involved. But I mean, it's really nice to have somebody out there that you can trust. Sandra or Ray, whoever it is, I'll take it.
Looking at you as the setter, even though you're just a second-year player, you know, that kind of comes with a lot of extra responsibilities. You're kind of the quarterback of the team out there. How do you try to handle the fact that you're not one of the older players, but you're still necessarily, and just by the way you act on the court as well, you're a leader for this team. How do you do that at a young age?
It's kind of something I've done for a while, being a setter my whole life. It's just kind of been a position I've, stepped into, being a leader. I've also played up my whole life, so it's not really a new position for me to be in. And honestly, me and the girls get along so well. We're more friends than just teammates, and so it doesn't make it hard. Nothing's personal out there. We get along well, and so communicating and being able to have that role and having girls that trust me, it makes it pretty easy.
I know you're going out to play at Fort Hays State. You got Truman State, some other teams. I want to ask you about what did you think when you looked at the schedule and said, "Oh, October is our first home game"?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a shock. I was kind of like, wow, this is different. We don't get to play home in much at all. But honestly, I feel like we kind of played better on the road last year, which is kind of a weird way to look at it. So, I mean, I'm excited to get out there and get to travel some. But I'm excited for us to get to finally be at home here in Emporia, get some people out, and, hopefully get a couple good matches here.
Like you mentioned that Ray obviously stepped into a really big role last weekend, but she wasn't the only newcomer you had hitting for you. Girls like Mia and Veronica on the outside. You want to talk about your relationship with some of those other people?
Yeah, me and Mia are still working right now to kind of build our connection as a middle. It takes a lot longer. It's a lot faster ball to set. And so we're still working to build that. But, I mean, it's great having her out there. She has the biggest vertical on our team. It's pretty easy to set her. I mean, it's kind of hard to air. She does it. She jumps out the gym. And me and V have connected well. She was one of the first girls that got here in the summertime, so I kind of got some extra reps before we even got into season. So, I have a lot of trust in all of our hitters. Jackie on the outside, Zuzi when she came in this weekend. We have pretty good numbers. We're 3 or 4 deep on the pins. So, I mean, I feel like anybody can get out there and get the job done.
Well, Coach, lost your first match, but how impressed were you with your team and their ability to kind of put that aside and then really play some great volleyball the next 2 days?
3-1, not bad, but we went in focused on Rockhurst initially, receiving votes. Obviously, a little history there from last year of taking the first set and going into the 20s every set. I thought that was a match we might have been able to get last year, and one that I had circled for this year for sure after they went to the NCAA tournament last year. And we definitely, lineup-wise, unfortunately, we had to make a couple changes, which I think hurt us. And just a crazy match. I mean, we get out, we start 6-0, they call timeout, we go up 7-0, they side out 7-1. I look over at the scoreboard, next thing I know it's 7-7, and I'm like, whoa, where was our lead? And that was the best we had ever received the ball since I've been the coach here. And then we only score 18 points. It doesn't make sense. So I think that was just a little frustrating for us that, we could pass it to the net, give Brailee some options, and then, we weren't terminating balls. We weren't earning our points. And granted, we knew they were going to have a sizable block. Both their right sides are, very physical. But that was a little disappointing. And then, second set, we came out and, we're up 23-18 and feeling pretty good. And then we get stuck in a rotation and then we go into overtime and we can't close it out. And I really would have liked to have gotten that set to sit at 1-1 at the break and go, okay, here we are. We didn't play, our best volleyball, but we sit at 1-1 and we still one team still has to win 2 sets. And unfortunately, we didn't get that. And then I changed the libero. I made another switch. And then I think that might have hurt our cohesiveness as far as who you're passing next to. Then we had some overlap problems, and that was just a little bit disappointing of a way, of how I had it in my head that we might go in there and get one from them. And then, it was I think a great opportunity. I mentioned it to the team. We got to see how we're going to respond, because tomorrow this ain't going to get any easier. We got to play 2 matches almost back to back, and it's a grind. And I think we didn't play our best volleyball on Saturday, but again, I altered the lineup a little bit. We had MK over on the right, try to put her back in the middle, and just trying to, figure some things out that we had used in the preseason in the scrimmages. And didn't look incredibly comfortable, but we did enough to, at least get to 25. And we played from behind that night against William Jewell in every set pretty much, which I didn't feel great about, and at least escaped it. And then, we kind of felt like the level of athlete was going to go up significantly on Saturday, and it did. They had 2 lefties that were very imposing, big arms, big jumps, and I think Jeff did a great job of neutralizing them. Our serve went to where he was trying to put it, and they tried to let those kids pass and then go and swing out to hit, and we definitely slowed them down, and then we were really on point. They kept the ball away from Ray and serve receive, and that allowed her to really get going offensively. And I was a little bummed on just the distribution of setting, because we don't want to just ride one player, but when they're feeling it, though, it's hard not to give them the ball. And Ray was definitely feeling it, but we had some heavy swings from a couple other players that I look forward to getting in this Friday and kind of locking horns again with Truman State and trying to just see if we can get that. When you look at that box score, can we get it a little bit more balanced, that it's not so one-sided heavy? So, but all in all, 3-1. We beat a team receiving votes. Hopefully that'll help us get in the conversation here. With that, it's obviously where we're trying to move the program to. And I think, overall, I feel pretty good. I think we played at a very high level on Saturday, and the great challenge will be, well, we know it's in there, and now can we do it again and repeat it?
I know that you had said that in the preseason you had really high expectations for Rayashawn, but it just hadn't been coming together in practice. I don't know what happened, but something obviously came together. What was that? Did you see that light bulb moment when things kind of came into focus, and what was that for her?
I think with any player, international, local, there's a transition period, and you just hope the transition period doesn't take too long if they're going to be on the court. And she showed us in a couple of the scrimmages what she was capable of, and obviously in practice, we knew it's in there, and I was just excited that it was consistently there for every match this past weekend for 4 matches, and that was really I think she's gonna continue to grow. The cool thing is she's very coachable. She wants feedback. She wants to improve. Even yesterday in practice, she's trying to work on a shot, that we needed this weekend, and she's very aware of it. And, to me, that's awesome. And I think the sky's the limit for her. But, she definitely got it, rolling to where, I kind of felt like, she should be able to walk in and hopefully compete to be an all-conference player even her freshman year. And I think that, the numbers obviously this weekend warranted that, that's for sure.
MK was kind of leading the way for you, and it wasn't just her, but it felt like you guys had a really good service weekend in terms of generating a lot of aces and free points. What allowed you guys to do that, and how do you maintain that going forward?
It's actually one of our focuses. We had 3 this week, and service pressure after 20 in the red zone, if you will, is a big focus for us, because we kind of felt like we let off the gas a little bit when it got to the end of the set. We put a lot of pressure on teams, and then kind of went, we call it going soft a little bit. And big focus for us this week is to get into that red zone area and still drill them. And they did a great job, like I mentioned, Jeff, of putting together a game plan and kind of hitting the spots and moving people around and trying to stick them in rotations, and we did that. Our point scoring was over 50% this weekend. That was awesome. So we definitely had several players get on a run, but we're going to try to tighten that. It's one of our 3 things this week, to try to continue to impose our will, if you will, a little bit from behind the service line.
And then just a preview of what's coming up for you when you head out west to Hayes this weekend, opening up with Truman State, but I know that a good competition you're expecting all weekend.
Yeah, we'll worry about Friday first. Truman State, and they played some really good teams this past weekend and went 5 with Northern Michigan, and they were, Minnesota, and I mean they played some good teams, and they've got some players that played high-level clubs. So if you look at their roster, they've got some kids that have been in some very well-established open-level volleyball clubs. So, and we've taken a peek at them. They're running a 6-2 system, so they're going to have 3 hitters in the front row. They've got some heavy arms. They had chances to win. They went 5 twice this past weekend against teams that traditionally are in the NCAA tournament. So, we'll be well prepared. And again, I'm gonna hopefully try to have our group just build off of what happened on Saturday. That's my biggest measuring stick, if you will. I mean, I'm happy we get to put the jerseys on, and I'm happy that we get to go compete against somebody else than ourselves. But I want to see if we can recreate some of the execution. I mean, we earned 20 points in one of our sets, on Saturday against a block that was sizable, and that's hard to do against no block. We can't do that often in practice against just the net itself and the court. So, I was very impressed that we were able to do just execute at that high of a level over time. It's one thing we talk about. Can we be good over time, not just for a play or two? And we were able to do that. And I'll be honest, that's what I'm most looking forward to, of lacing them up on Friday and seeing, can we just be good, for each set for 25 points. And I think the result will take care of itself.
One quick thing for me on the defensive side of things, we had 3 middles with double-digit blocks on the weekend, and Mia had 13 total. Just going to talk about her impact in those middles overall.
The middle position is highly competitive in our gym, which is great. We added 2 freshman middles. Obviously, we had some returners. Cadence played actually, a lot last year, and we obviously know MK as a 5th year, and Lily as a freshman last year played, and we moved MK over to the right for a couple of the matches or a couple of the sets, and we put her back in the middle on Saturday. But it's a good problem to have, and even for me to be able to move the lineup a little bit if we're not getting the matchup we like, or offensively if we're not connecting with the setter. For example, some of our girls hit better in front of the setter than behind, and if we feel like we like the matchup because their left side isn't as big and we want to get the ball behind more, it was awesome this weekend to feel like we can make a change and get a better matchup. So but MK being the one that's been here, she's the 5th year, and just her experience, if you watch the match, it was maybe a bold coaching move, but we put MK in at 24-23, and we set her the ball after she was on the bench and hadn't played at all, and she got the kill and ended the match. But to me, I think that's the beauty of having coached some of these players for a year and a half, that there's a high level of trust that I have because they've earned it. MK, I can reflect back to, the fall last year or the spring last year, and in practice, even since we've started, she's hard to stop. And even if she hadn't played, I went down and I asked her, I said, hey, you good? If we pass it well, we're setting you the ball, and I need you to go up and cut it back to right back because I got a setter playing defense back there that's cheated in. And it worked out. We had a pass. It wasn't perfect. Brailee forced it a little bit, but MK went up and hit it cut back and ended the match. And, I think probably the staff looked at me like I'm crazy. But, I have confidence in some of those players like that. They've earned the right to be able to do that. And I thought that was, for me, I was hoping it was going to work out, but it was great that we could move again players around and put them in, and hopefully they go in and do their job and execute. And I think there's no better example than that from this past weekend.